Hello, welcome to Chickenwood Studio and my podcast. I'm Lori, and I'm coming to you on a lovely day in May, May 15th. And this is a podcast about knitting and spinning, sewing, some soap making, maybe some gardening now and then, and general crafty, creative things that are happening here at Chickenwood. We are getting ready to leave for a long weekend trip tomorrow, but I wanted to take this time to share a few things that I have finished and that I'm working on and that I have on the horizon, and kind of psyched because a few things have arrived in the mail that would be fun to share with you, and talk about maybe some other stuff I've been thinking about lately in terms of making ideas and resources and tools and tricks and things like that. So I would like to thank people. I wanted to thank everyone who has come to watch, who has subscribed. And recently I've had a bunch of new subscribers. So thank you for coming to see the podcast and clicking on the button and asking to be notified of next episodes. My lovely friend Patricia of Knitography over in Norway just gave me such a beautiful tribute on Instagram and also in her recent episode, and I so appreciate that, Patricia. I would love it if we could meet someday. I would love to come to your place in Norway. You know me, the winter lover that I am. That's always been my dream, so maybe that'll happen sometime. That would be really fun to hang out and knit together, walk in your forests. Anyhow, so welcome back to returning viewers. Welcome to any other new viewers. And on Instagram, I am LF Dubois, as well as on Ravelry. If you want to visit over there, we do have a Ravelry group there. And it's Chickenwood Studio Podcast. I just have had a lot of fun and inspiration from things people have been posting lately, which has generated a major case of Startitis for me, and a little problem with clicking submit order online. However, I think I have gotten over that now, and I'm going to settle in and make the things that I have begun and enjoy that. And so I will start out with just sort of reviewing some of the things that I was working on last time. I don't think I'll show all of them to you because I haven't got a huge ton done. I won't show you the big star shawl because it's huge, and I want to wait for the impact of the finished item. But it's coming along. It's almost on the last garter section of the shoulder shaping of the big triangular shawl. So it will be soon. Perhaps this weekend I can finish it. And I was also telling you and showing you about the mittens, the Selbluvater. I completed one, and I am this much done with the second one. There's the finished one, and here's my second one. Whoops. And they are a blast to knit. I have to say I've really enjoyed the pattern and the yarn, which is Jameson and Smith of Shetland. And I don't know, some kind of probably a Haya needle, forgotten what size, doing magic loop style. The pattern is so, just makes a lot of sense. It's symmetrical on the front of the mitten, and it's just small enough that it's easy to follow. I enlarged the chart a little bit, which made it a lot easier for me. And now I'm using highlighting tape to keep track of where I am. And the cool thing about the way they did this, you see 3 mittens there. This is a free Ravelry download, by the way. So they have your left mitten, which you knit this and this. Is that my left or my right? I don't know. One of them, you start here and you knit across here. The other, you start here and you knit here. So it's all in one page. It just makes a lot of sense. It's very practical and streamlined, and just been a pleasure to make these mittens. And they actually fit so nicely and snugly that they will also be really nice to wear come winter. The tradition behind them is so interesting too. I need to get a book out of the library, one of the ones that Patricia mentioned. Selbewwater, something, a knitting tradition. I've worked on the socks a little too, but I won't pull those out because not much has been done because of all my other distractions. This, though, I did get some inches done on the pavement sweater, which is a Vera Valimaki design, pavement. It's a top-down, nice open neckline for summertime. It's just, vanilla knitting now that all the shaping is done. But the cool thing for me is that it's this yarn called Hempathy, which is cotton, hemp, and modal blend. And it's the first thing I've ever knit with this type of yarn. So it feels a little stringish, but I've read that after you wash it, it fluffs out nicely, and I think it'll be a fine result. And this is in one of my hedgie bags that I made a while back. I have one in my Etsy shop still. I decided to keep this one because I needed one and it was sitting there. It's got little striped lining just like the handle. Just about right for this now. When the sweater starts getting bigger, I'll have to switch, but it's perfect for now. So that is the ongoing things, and so I started some new things too, and this is another bag I just finished today. Finally made a big one, big enough for a sweater. And this is the Skogafjall, which I told you about last episode. And the yarn came in after I spoke with you. And it is Let Lopi in that beautiful pine green color. It looks more teal on the screen, but it's a lovely warm yellowish green. And I've done the sleeves, and I'm halfway up the body. So really enjoy knitting with this yarn. The Let Lopi is just great. And this is my sweater bag for now. It's the first time I knit with this plastic coated fabric. It's a little tricky, but I managed. I don't know that I'll do that again. I kind of had trouble with it up at the top because the plastic is sticky. I could have researched maybe or asked for advice, but I just wanted to jump right in and get it done. So maybe. Something else that I have started since we spoke is yarn. I did tell you about the yarn, I believe. I think I was maybe going to do socks with this. This is from On the Round up in Maine. She posts a lot on Instagram, and her colorways just caught my eye. Rachel Jones of On the Round. And this is called Rising Tide. And I had seen this Nurmalintu shawl around. You can't see much now, I've just begun it. But I love how this garter stitch is showing off this colorway. It's an asymmetrical sort of triangular shawl. It's going to have panels of lace alternating with panels of garter. And it's super nice yarn. It is Rachel's signature sock. It's a 3-ply sock. I think it's superwash merino, 75%, 25% nylon. So I'll show you that again next time. Hopefully have something more interesting to show for it. But it's very enjoyable knitting, I have to say. And I think that's all I think I'm going to show. Well, there is another. I decided to join in on my first mystery knit-along. And this is being sponsored by Alicia Plummer. This is a shawl. And this is only the first clue and a little bit of the second clue, so I don't think, which has been out for a while, maybe a week. So I don't think I'm going to wreck any surprises. So we will see what this becomes. It's quite interesting. She's handing out her clues every 2 weeks over the summer. So it's going to take a little bit of time, which is good because I have a lot other things to work on. This is what I'm using. This was my final purchase from my local yarn store before she closed up, Trumpet Hill. So this is a special project. This is a lovely yarn, Suavia. It's 65% wool, 20% kid mohair, and 15% silk. It's got a beautiful little halo on it, you can see there. And it's just this very pale, silvery gray. Let's see, the book I wanted to tell you about. I'd gotten a note from a friend of mine who asked me Did you ever hear of continental knitting? Continental knitting. And she was curious about what it was, if it might help her with stress on her right hand. And all I could think of was, yeah, I've heard of it. That's what I switched to years ago. I learned to knit throwing with my right, and when I read this book by the beloved Elizabeth Zimmerman, it changed a lot about my knitting. And so I told my friend Karen about this book and told her to see if she could find it, because prior to reading this book, I had only read patterns, basically. I never read a book about knitting. What could you write about knitting except how to knit, or maybe how to the pattern? But I learned differently when I read this book by Elizabeth, who is so full of information and personality and chat and humor and anecdote. And it was like nighttime reading by the bedside, or, you know, with a good cup of coffee, plus learning about knitting and techniques and things, all kind of in the context of story. And so she really won my heart, and I've purchased, I think, most of her books since then over the years, plus some videos and DVDs, because she produced them along with her daughter Meg Swanson, who I also admire greatly, who now runs their business, Schoolhouse Press. And Schoolhouse Press, well, the whole story is about Elizabeth coming to America in the 50s, I think, and starting to sell real wool yarn to when the market was mostly acrylic, and patterns were mostly bits and pieces sewn together, but she was teaching the traditional methods along with the traditional real wool. And so she really, that just got me, it resonated with me, and ever since I have benefited from what I learned from both her and Meg. So Meg still sells patterns, books, a lot of other books, a lot of European background, traditional techniques, from Icelandic to Shetland to, oh my goodness, so many. So it means just hop over on her website, schoolhousepress.com, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So I told my friend Karen, this was where Elizabeth tells about how she was taught to learn with the right hand, the English style, but her Swedish nanny, or Swiss nanny, was knitting continental, and she was curious, what are you doing? What is that? And so her nanny taught her how to knit continental, and she never looked back either. So now I'm like learning to knit English again with the long pins and the Shetland belt, so I'm all over the place, but this is a good place to start if you would like to have a great read, get to know a wonderful knitter, and learn her excellent techniques. So that's my book review for today. And what else did I have to talk about? I told you about my tools. Or did I? No, I did not, because that was on the video when the recording wasn't working. Actually, I missed everything. I forgot to show you my whip. This is my FO for today. This is the Spring Festival Shawl by Jo Kelly of Edinburgh. And this was the festival knit for 2015 Edinburgh Yarn Fest, I believe. It was great. It was a lovely, not too big, didn't take forever, fun to knit, and the yarn is perfect for it. It's from Woolberry Fiber Company, and it's called Eucalyptus Forest. I've showed it to you before, I think. So there's my final, ta-da, and it's way too warm to keep it on any longer than this. But the tools I was going to share about was my blocking pins, blocking wires. And these are my blocking wires. I think I got them for like $20 online. Very good investment because they pull the shawls out. Many of you have probably used them already, but if you haven't, this is what they're like. They're about 3 feet long, and you put them through the tips of your scallops or the corners of your work and pull it out on your blocking surface, pin them down with the T-pins that are about like this, and they just open out that lace so nicely, and they shape your scalloped edges crisply, and it's just the finishing just sets it off so nicely. So if you can get your hands on some blocking wires, you'll probably be glad you did if you like to knit lace and you do a lot of it. So this is my Me Made May contribution today. It's my Anne Carolyn smock, the first one I did. It was my wearable muslin, but it's quite wearable because it is quilting cotton. It's really comfortable. It's just, I'm going to try one with some fabric with a little more give to it. Maybe like a linen rayon blend or something. This is a little crispy, more crispy feeling for me, but it's, it's great. It's really fun that I made it, and I'm glad it worked out, and I learned some new things with sewing. So speaking of sewing, I was helping my mother move some things out of her attic recently. She's moving out of her house into an apartment, and we are going through a lot of things, and we came across this box. Mom sewed a ton more than I ever realized. I knew she sewed our clothes, a lot of them. She sewed a lot of her own things. She taught us to sew, and of course she kept every pattern that she had ever bought. So when we got to the attic, there was this and another much bigger box full of patterns, and as I leafed through, I thought, I can't believe it, I remember all these things. And I couldn't let her throw them away. I mean, so I thought it would be fun to just peek through, pick up a random, and you can go down memory lane with me. Look at that. Simplicity. I don't know. Probably it was this one. Somebody. I have two sisters, so I do remember going on a summer vacation event where we all three had strawberry fabric shift dresses that matched each other, and probably my mother too. Oh yeah, remember these? This is 60s, 70s. Such fun. Just couldn't part with them. Here we go. This is probably what the strawberry dresses were made with. I'm sure it is. These are perfect for now. That's the other reason I hung on to them, because my sister's daughters each have a daughter. Oh, I remember this one very well. I think I had one of those. So I don't know how my mother did this. She had 4 kids and must have stayed up late a lot of nights. Okay, here's one from high school, 70s. How many of you had an outfit like that? Oh my goodness. I can't stop. Oh my. Okay, now we're getting into the older ones. Oh my heavens. Here we go. This is from a little farther. Maternity wear. So Mom was making her maternity outfits. Wow, there's a lot of them. Oh my goodness, look at that. The waistlines people had in those days, eh? Oh, back to the 70s. Ponchos and bell bottoms. Oh, that was just for fun. I couldn't part with them. Can you see why? It's wild. So thanks, Mom, for all the hard work you put in. If you're watching this, thanks for teaching us how to sew and sewing for us. And, I think we all sew now. And my niece, actually, is a ballet dancer, but her minor was in theater costume. And she actually sewed her own tutu for her senior project. Gorgeous dance costume. So a lot of talented seamstresses. My sister sews all kinds of things. Well, I just thought I'd make a mention today. Today is the day that Shetland Wool Week has opened up for registrations and signing up for classes. And I'm all feeling all nostalgic and wishing that I was going this year, but at the same time, relief that I wasn't under that pressure and that stress about getting in there and getting the classes I wanted. So I just thought I would mention to anyone who is going, if you're watching this, that if you don't happen to get the classes that you had hoped for, it will be okay because there's so much else to do up there. There are drop-ins and free day-long studio open houses. There's community meetings where the people that are from Shetland come, the guild meetings, and they chat with you and knit with you. And there's just so much going on that week that even if you didn't sign up for a single class, you would be totally booked and have a wonderful time. So I mentioned that last fall when I got home, but thought I'd reiterate that today. And speaking of one of those classes, that just reminded me that Hazel Tyndall, whose class I went to 2 years ago on Fair Isle knitting, she had just produced a new DVD about Fair Isle knitting, and that was called, I didn't write it down, Hazel Tyndall, Shetland knitting. I'll put it in the notes. I purchased it as a download because our DVDs, they weren't formatted for American DVD players, but you can purchase the download and own it. And she's wonderful. I just sit and watch that DVD for just to spend time with Hazel. It's awesome. Not to mention her teaching style is so calm and so encouraging and lovely. So I have heard that she is in the process of putting out another one and collaborating with Elizabeth Johnston, who is Shetland hand spun, who we have spun with, and I've met a few times over there, and another lovely Shetlander who has so much to teach and share, so generous with her time and her knowledge. And so I'm excited. I can't wait to see what this is going to be. I'll be right up in line to order one of those. Hey, I have to make a little insert here to show you a couple things that I've totally forgotten about. In having to redo, I kind of forgot a couple of fun things I wanted to share with you, being the new things that I purchased and a new project that I started because P. Fortune made me do it. She didn't make me do it. I wanted to do it after seeing the things that she'd been making on Knitography. So, she and some other knitters have started the Sea Change sweater, which I first had seen Pia Kammerborn of Sweden. And she did a lovely green one. It was so pretty. And so I was looking at different yarns, and I just kind of fell in love with this combo. And this is rowan felted tweed, and this is treacle, and this is duck egg. And yeah, they're kind of my colors, aren't they? I wanted to go with a dark body and light for the pattern. It's a pullover with a yoke, and I have started the sleeves. Beautiful color pattern there. And let's see, I can maybe show you. You've probably seen it out and about if you follow Pia Kammerborn or a few other. Claire of New Hampshire Knits is making one, and Sarah Fibertrack along with Patricia, who had, I think she finished one. No, she's making one now. And this is a pattern by Jennifer Steingass. It just, the bug just got me, so I went for it. And I've never knitted with rowan felted tweed, and it is such a treat. And this is what I wanted to include in my Shetland discussion. It's my bag from last year, representing the Shetland lace knitters from the Wool Week. So there's that. And also in the mail, I got something in a lovely brown paper package tied up with tape and sheep on the tape. Such fun. This is Plutolopi, which I will use for a rusty cardigan. Late to that party, but I've seen so many beautiful ones. So I'm like sweater crazy this week. This is, it's the natural black and white. I went with kind of classic for that one. But I love how they package their things. Brown paper and sheepy tape and stuff. Meanwhile, back on Instagram, once in a while, you sort of run through and find some new people to follow, and when you do that, you see all kinds of fun things. And this indie dyer in England called Cauldron of Color had some things on her Etsy shop that caught my eye. Here she is. So I picked up this. It's Donegal Neps on Blueface Leicester sock yarn. It's called The Three Graces. It's her interpretation, inspired by a painting by a pre-Raphaelite artist that she owns in her home. I thought it had a little more pink and blue in areas, but it really is pretty much mostly the gold, the greeny gold. But it's really nice. I don't think it's a shawl, but I'm not sure what I'll do with it now because it wasn't quite what I expected, but it's lovely yarn, and I'm sure something will emerge in time that will say that this is the yarn for that. It came beautifully packaged in this beautiful bag with a tea bag matching turmeric, gold, and 2 candies, which of course are gone, in the gold and the pink. So thoughtful and so beautifully packaged. Shipped quite quickly from the UK, and I will be watching her too for future colorways. Actually, I thought I used to dye fiber for spinning. I may have dyed a little bit of yarn, but mostly I was dyeing roving, and I dye fleece. And I just thought, why don't I try a little dyeing on a couple of skeins of sock yarn? So those are on the way to me, and I'll give you an update on that and see what happens. I still have the dyes, and I have some ideas for colorways. So I'm just getting a couple natural sock skeins. Meanwhile, I was perusing the Woolly Thistles website because I was looking for Croft 29. And Croft 29 in England is a farm where they're raising Hebrideans. They're on the Isle of Skye, and they are raising Hebrideans and selling their yarn. And Claire was carrying it for a while, and I thought I would try it since it might be available from Claire in New Hampshire. But she was out, but she said she has an order coming in at some point in the future. Meanwhile, she said, I do have this blacker mohair blends. It isn't quite the peaty brown of the Hebridean, which I look forward to getting later, but it is natural color. They call it methril. It is Hebridean mohair blend. So I'm getting there. It's a start. And this will make a lovely wintry sock. I may just do plain. It's a little heavier maybe than a standard 4-ply sock, but let me see. It's woolen spun, and in 50-gram ball there's 190 yards, so it's maybe a little heavier than our typical sock yarns, but that's all right. Fewer stitches, a bigger needle, faster sock comes from that. And Claire put goodies in her bag. Her Woolly Thistle button, which I love, and which I forgot about, so now I'm going to have to take care of that. So yay! Time to stop this shopping and keep on knitting. But in the meantime, I wish you the best again. Now we'll carry on with our regularly scheduled program. From Shetland to soap. So this is the time where, if you'd like to hear about some soap making and the things I've made lately, hang on. And if not, feel free to go, and I will see you next time. This week I had to make a lot of soap because my stores were down. I had been to China and kind of sold out, and so I had a lot of, last week actually, a couple days worth of lots of soap making. Let's get soaping is what the one of the videos that I watched that I learned from was Kim of Essential Soap. She's from Alabama, I think. She's very fun, very chatty, and very knowledgeable too. So she just always ends her intro with "Let's get soaping." So I got soap in last week. And here's the sandalwood batch, fresh out of the mold, ready to air and cure in the cupboard for a while before we put labels on. So now I'm going to talk you through the process of making this batch of soap in still photos. Stay tuned. So this is where we begin with melting the fats for the soap. These are the hard oils: shea butter, coconut oil, and palm oil. These are the soft oils: olive, castor, and this is pure soy oil. And once the hard ones have melted, then we add these and we get the temperature ready. This is the melted oils plus the titanium dioxide for whitening and kaolin clay for anchoring the scent. Here's where I have already dissolved the lye and am adding that to the oils for when the magic begins. Then I stick blend for a while and bring it up to emulsification in a thickness of sort of like pudding, and it's called trace. So at a thick trace, you let it sit with the heat on and the lid on, and over the course of the next half hour to hour or hour and a half, the transformation happens and the soap cooks and it goes into different phases. This is called the mashed potato phase, and after this it will cook a little longer and become clear and sort of like Vaseline, at which point you test for doneness, and then you can turn off the heat, add scents, add superfats, add colorants, in which case I did a few different colors in there. And then before it gets too cool, you get it into the mold. This is a mold that I made out of plastic, sort of like corrugated plastic. So there you go, soap making in a nutshell. And now we'll get back to my demo. The first one is a peppermint soap. This actually, I was inspired by Tanya from Lovely Greens. She is a gardener, blogger. Now she's starting to do some more instructional videos. She has so many wonderful ideas. Lovely.greens.com. Lovely.greens on Instagram. And so she did a video on how to make peppermint soap. She does the cold process. I do hot process, but you use the same recipes, just different methods of making the soap. But she did remind me that you can use ground dried peppermint leaves in your soap for light exfoliation. Oh, it's wonderful. So I did that this time, and I maybe was a little heavy on the peppermint leaves. I think I might use less next time, but it's fun. This is a sandalwood blend bar with lots of goodies in it and extra shea butter and sweet almond oil. I have naturally colored it with indigo, actually, which is, we use it for dyeing wool, and paprika and turmeric and mustard. So we've got sort of yellow, orange, red, and blue, just for fun, and swirly colors. And it's a blend of sandalwood essential oil and a few others. I don't have the label with me, but a little citrus, maybe a little cedarwood, maybe, the base, the middle, and the high notes. It's really nice. This one is a carrot facial bar. It's made with organic baby food carrots, stirred in after emulsification. So after the lye has dissolved and has been mixed in with your oils and blended for a while, but before cooking. So the carrot doesn't get burned in the high temperature of the lye water chemical reaction, and yet you get the full benefit of the carrots. I mean, they get cooked as well, but they already were cooked. So, but carrot's supposed to be lovely for your skin, and my niece had enjoyed a bar I had made a couple years ago and asked for some more, so I was happy to do that again. No scent, just a lot of good things for your skin in addition to the carrot. Avocado oil, I can't remember what else was in there, and I love it. It makes such a nice creamy lather. This was, it's not so exciting to look at, but it smells. It's orange and coriander and essential oils, and it has ground rosehip seeds in it for some colorant and some exfoliation. Very light. It's very powdery. It's not even hardly grainy. So it's a real rustic looking bar, and I just love it. This was the one with our neighbor's honey in it as well. Honey is really good for our skin. It's antibacterial and it's humectant, so it moisturizes, keeps water on your skin. Many good things about honey, right? So I like to put it in my soap when I can. And the final one is a salt bar. This is a rose geranium essential oil mostly, with a few others just to balance out, maybe a little citrus, some lavender probably. And it's half salt, pink Himalayan salt. After you make your soap, you can use half up to 100% of its weight in salt. It's fine grain. And so it makes a very hard bar. It lasts nice and long. And it is exfoliating. If you maybe can see the sparkles, I could see the soap sparkling. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to show up on the screen, but you can sort of see. Anyway, so it's a fun spa bar. I call it a spa bar. Woo, it's pretty strong. So I've been busy, and I love making soap. And if you're interested, I encourage you to learn up on it and it doesn't have to cost a lot to make a simple soap. You just have to be careful with the lye and use the proper amounts, weigh carefully. Get a proper recipe from a lye calculator, which is easy to find online. Read up, watch the videos, and, go for it. Have an adventure. Make your own soap. And let me know how it goes if you do. I would love to know about that. So my voice is getting dry here, and I really need to stop and start packing up for our trip. And all I want to do is relax on the porch, listen to the birds sing, and knit. So I may do that for another 15 minutes with the rest of my tea. And I wish you the best. And until I see you next time, enjoy the spring and your knitting, making, whatever it is you're doing. I'll have to come up with some kind of a closing line here, but I don't have one now other than that it's great to hear from all of you. Thank you so much for all of your encouraging comments. I know I had asked you to let me know, and you did. So I was thrilled. So let's keep getting together, and see you then next time. Bye-bye.